KDCL Media, the pride of Internet radio for Deep Creek Lake, Garrett County, Maryland, and the world.
Consciousness. It's like the ocean. The H2O Network, purveyors of passion, seeking to expand human consciousness from the deep depths of the universe of your soul.
Greetings, family, and welcome to the H2O Network, and welcome to KDCL Media, the pride of Internet radio. We are here for our Egun series, CCK, Center for Community Knowledge, with our elder, Oba Ernesto Pichardo, who is an elder of the Lukumi tradition, over 40 years of Ocha. And tonight we are going to discuss Egun, relationships and marriage, and probably a few other things. But before we bring Oba and KDCL Media on the line, let me get, announcements out of the way, family. Make sure that you go to the KDCL Media and the H2O Network profile page. You can download the H2O Network via iTunes or individual shows. The links that are on my Facebook page, Miss Paula or Oba, you click on that link and the player pops up. You have three choices under the player, and one of them is to download this specific or any other specific show. You can click on that link and download it. Also via iTunes, you can download all of our shows, so make sure you go to KDCL Media and the H2O Network profile page. Also, family, you know that we're percolating on Facebook. Type into your search engine DIANUNEZ. That is me. I have two profiles. Friend them both. And also KDCL Media, and also Oba is on Facebook percolating. We are also on Twitter, family. Type into your search engine the H2O Network and KDCL Media, and you'll be able to find us there. We're also on Google+, and we are also on YouTube. And family, I'm really working hard to cut and paste, if you will, some of our shows that we started with CCK, Center for Community Knowledge. I will be downloading every single show with Oba on YouTube. It's just going to take time, family, because I have to edit it and cut it and so on and so forth. That is coming. Also, the reading of the year in Espanol, and also the English version I will be doing the same thing with. And just a reminder, family, this coming up Sunday, we will continue our Espanol show with the Odu of the year with Oba Carlos to further talk about the letters that fell in Miami, because there were so many things that were said. And if y'all missed it, my Espanol family, y'all need to catch up, because y'all missed some real juicy tidbits for real. So we had to split that in two. Also, family, make sure that if you are registering for the intro to religious counseling with Baba Mandisere out of New York City, who has just joined the family of CCK, Center for Community Knowledge, make sure that you either email Oba or me. I would prefer that you email me, because I'll be handling all of the things that need to go down for your information, and that's rg345@nyu.edu. That's rg345@nyu.edu. And make sure that in the subject letter you tell me which classes that you are taking and so on and so forth, so it makes it easier on me. We get hundreds of emails a day, family, and I'm monitoring all these things. So to make it easier for me, put that in the subject line and things of this nature, and we will collaborate. Now, the last show that we had, we talked about the sexual predator of Egun. I have to say, as priests, as aleos, or indigenous people of the planet, to talk about spirit or to be in masses in one thing, but to actually break down in these different compartments of what this really means can be a little scary. I got a lot of emails, thank you, much love, from individuals. And the feedback, family, remember, is love. So that was a phenomenal show. There are a lot of people who were percolating and talking about that show. So after this one, if you have not listened to that, you need to go back into the archives. And also I want to share something with you guys. Me and Oba, talk very often off air, and we had this conversation about the show that we had previously, sexual predatorship with Abiku and Egun and all of these attachments. Well, there is an excellent example in Celebrityville, if you will, that deals with Abiku. And if you haven't read the book Enter the Dragon about Bruce Lee's life, he had an Abiku attached to him, and that's why he lost his life. That's why Brandon lost his life, and eventually his father passed on basically his Egun baggage to Bruce Lee and Bruce Lee's son. And the story goes, and this is a true story, family. I dated a Chinese guy for 5 years, and it's very well known, percolating in Asian community, that basically the father of Bruce Lee didn't really pay his debt, if you will, in a certain type of spiritual way. And because he chose to ignore this Abiku, he passed this Abiku down to Bruce Lee. And when you read the book, Enter the Dragon, his wife actually talks about the dreams when Iku would come to Bruce Lee and, terrorize him. And he had these visions his whole entire life. And if you watch the movie Enter the Dragon, the year before Bruce Lee died, he had another vision with Iku, and then he saw Iku being transferred over to his son Brandon. That's deep, y'all. So when I saw this book, I completely forgot about Bruce Lee. You know what I'm saying? There's so many examples, as Oba teaches. When we are learning Odu, the essence of Odu and Egun, there's so many examples of living Odu. Odu is alive. So there are many examples of what Oba talks about on air. So when I saw this movie, I called Oba. I was like, holy crap, did you know Bruce Lee? He's like, oh, yeah, that's Abiku. And the attachment to Bruce Lee and his family, another good example, is the Kennedys. Whole nother example. So as we go on in this Egun teaching, family, go back and listen to these programs and actually look for the examples in real life, because they are there. Oba, are you lying? At KDCL Media, are you on the line?
Hi, yes, we are. Many blessings to everyone.
Hi, family. How's everyone doing? Good, Santo.
Happy New Year, Prince Paula.
Happy New Year.
So how's everybody doing this evening?
Oh, we're doing good.
Excellent. Miss Paula?
And we're hanging in there. It was a spring day here on top of the mountain today, but winter will be back tonight.
Yes, it will. I feel your pain, sugar. Oba, you don't even need to respond, because you're in Miami right now, so what's cold to you don't even apply to this conversation. Whatever. Keep it moving.
I know, but I am cold because my air conditioner is rather, it's like in the 60s inside my house. So it gets weird in here sometimes.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna ignore that, because 60s is warm up this way. I don't know. Whatever. But moving on. So, Oba, the third installment in our series, talking about Egun relationships and marriage and a few other things. Where are we going today with this? Because there's a lot to talk about.
Oh, there's so much to talk about. Well, I want to welcome all the listeners. Many blessings to them in the new year. And those of you that have been suffering from spiritual intrusions, that's what this whole series is about. No one ever wants to talk about them, but we want to talk about them. And there's help. There's help. So the help begins with discussing this subject, which is touchy. It gets creepy for some people that aren't used to working in this realm of spiritual reality. But this is stuff that I grew up with all my life, watching my mom do it and help people and having these spirits come down and being removed and what have you. That was part of my entire world as I was growing up. It still is. So I speak not just from this theoretical perspective, but really from the experience. This experience from going back to my grandfather, who used to have a spiritualist temple and dedicated his life to this kind of work. So it's a family tradition, and I grew up learning from them, from my elders, as to what these things were and how to detect them and how to safely approach them and remove them so they never come back again. And I mean remove them. I don't mean separate them so they can come back next year or a month later or a week later. I'm talking about capturing these disruptive, intrusive negative Eguns and capturing them and getting them out of the way once and for all. So I speak from that lens, and hopefully the way I'm describing some of these cases, which are real stories and that I've experienced and know about, it reaches the audience, and the listeners can relate to it and connect to it. And those of you that have been suffering from these things, I don't have to tell you. As soon as you hear what I've got to say, you'll know who you are. And I just want to let you know, you don't need to continue to suffer. Okay? There are indigenous religious systems, not just the Lukui, that understand how to deal with these intrusions. Now, last, of course, it's a series. We're going to continue through our entire month of January. We're going to continue doing these programs on this Egun series, and we're just going to pick a different topic, a different theme, if you will, and we'll elaborate on them, and that's what we're doing today. This is like the third or fourth program, I think, right? Something like that?
Yeah, it's the third, old boss.
It's the third.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm starting to lose track of them already. But yeah, that's what it's about, and we're trying to bring this topic, which is very important because it impacts people in such profound ways, and usually nobody talks about them. So it's important that we talk about it. That's 50% right there, and hopefully people can relate to what we're saying. You know, nothing to get spooked over. The main thing here is, remove the fear to the unknown factor here, right? People tend to fear what they don't know. So if we discuss it, then they learn about it, then they know. So that gives them a better understanding, and that way they can kind of feel a little bit more secure, and then comes decision making. Once we learn what it is, that's 50% of the war right there. The other 50% is being proactive to capture it, remove it, and restore one's true spirits, and true protectors, bring them back and calibrate them, and then people can get their life back. So that's what we're doing tonight, following this series. And we've already spoken. For those of you that just joined us and haven't heard the previous programs, I certainly recommend you to do so because it is a series. So I'm talking as we evolve from one topic to the next within that scope of spiritual intrusions. We're talking about different types of intrusions and how they affect human beings. Today, of course, the topic is how do these intruders, these predator spirits, attach themselves, and how they affect our love and our ability to love, the ability to be loved, our ability to find relationships and find partners, and the whole thing, of course, is sustainability. How do we sustain it? There's so many people out there, that know what I'm talking about, that if they really do a little inventory, a little scorecard on how many times they've entered a relationship with someone, and there's always something comes up,
Mm-hmm.
and these relationships break down. And, people begin to wonder after a while, right? Especially women, and particularly women, and they start getting like going, wait a minute, is there something wrong with me? Is it the way I look? Is it my character? Is it the way I talk? Is it my nose? Is it my ear? Is it my hair? What is it, And they begin to inflict this self-criticism and speculation about themselves. But then they look at the real world and they see the strangest of people with partners and loving and having a loving relationship. And you go like, wow, something must be wrong with me, because if these women, these other people like that, look like that, act like that, live like that, they can still find a positive partner and have a constructive relationship with someone that's long-lasting and rewarding. Why can't I, right? What can I? What's the mystery? And so this is the kind of stuff we want to talk about tonight. We want to talk to those women, particularly, that have a track record of these short, if you will, short-term relationships, and they just collapse. They don't develop into anything. The other kinds of relationships that we want to talk about is the interrelationships, and everything is very, very compatible, if you will. And then within a short period of time, there's this instant, inexplicable disconnect with the partner. And it's not because they disagreed on something. It's not because they had a fight over something. It just trickles in. It sneaks in, and you don't even know how it got in there. But there's this intense feeling all of a sudden where you feel that something is wrong with this relationship. And next thing you find out, things begin to happen, starting with the person is experiencing these feelings, where you start boycotting, unconsciously start boycotting the relationship. And this increases to a level where it's like being imprisoned and you need to break out, And then for no good reason, go down this pathway of making sure that the relationship is destroyed without any real substantive reason. But it's just this inner feeling, this inner drive that this should not continue. And you go there and you break it down, It's those strange things that people normally don't have an explanation for, but yet they find themselves over and over and over again experiencing the same things over and over again from one partner to the next. The other thing is, this kind of intrusion also impacts in another very freaky and interesting way, which is the tendency for isolation, right? This tendency of you feel better, safer, and you don't get that negative emotional, unexplicable drive to push someone out the door by just isolating, by recoiling, by consciously saying, you know what, I'm not in the mood, you know what, I don't want to go through this kind of negative experience again, these feelings again with another new partner where I end up pushing them out the door. And so that begins to translate into this calamity, if you will, this psychological, chaotic thinking that there's something must be terribly wrong with me. So therefore, I'm tired of re-experiencing this kind of scenario, and I feel better and I'm challenged and I'm in a comfort zone as long as I become isolated. Yes.
I just had a little epiphany. Why does it seem that more women go through what you're talking about? Disclaimer, there are men who do too.
Sure.
But is it because we have a womb in this physical incarnation, and the womb is a cosmic portal that literally holds many things and things embed in our womb. And that's why you see, from my perception, you see a lot of women with reproductive issues, because the issues that they buried, it buries in crevices within their physical womb. And then they have like all of these issues and so on and so forth. It's like a bigger space to hold things. I'm trying to understand, like, why is it women that are always going through these things? Men do too, but it's at a higher percentage.
I would agree that, yes, overwhelmingly, at least in my 41 years of religious practice, and certainly I would speak for my mother, who is 82 years old, and she's been practicing this stuff all her life, that the answer would be yes, that women overwhelmingly are the ones victimized by these spiritual intruders, these predators that literally are ruining their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And this happens more so overwhelmingly in women that I've ever known or seen in men. And you're right, it's not that some men do not have this problem. They do. And the reason why they do is because they themselves...
You are now in the host queue.
They themselves are reincarnated, have reincarnated, and they themselves are also have spiritual attachments, which are also predators,
mm-hmm.
or disturbed, or these roamers, right? These negative spirits roaming around, and they've attached themselves to this man. However, where it really, really gets outrageously serious, it's always with the women.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In my experience, it's always the women. And I would say to you that on the top of the list as to reason why,
mm-hmm.
it is because the women are the human, everything that gets fertilized, everything that's reproduced is from this woman's body. It's not the man.
Ajayi.
So the woman is the conduit. The woman is that vehicle, is the vessel.
Indeed.
Her body is this vessel, right?
Indeed.
That brings back the reincarnated child, the newborn, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So these predator spirits overwhelmingly go after and victimize the women because the women are the vessel.
And it's funny you say that, because I just thought of something else. You know, you always give me a brain massage, Oba. You really do. Like, the floodgates open. One of my perceptions since I'm incarnated in the flesh as a woman, women, our portal we're not only a walking portal 24/365. It activates to the 3 millionth degree every 28 days in that cycle.
Yes.
We are opening up the cosmic portal within our womb that opens up every time we bleed onto this earth.
In fact, that's one of the most vulnerable moments for these predator spirits.
Ajayi.
Yes.
And we connect with the cosmos. Therefore, we are able to bring down Egun from the ethers, which there is a Luku name for, and we bring them in through our body, unbeknownst to a lot of women. That's why I always tell women, understand your womb and what your cycle really means, because it's more than what it's perceived to be. But you're right.
Yeah, it is certainly, you're correct. It is certainly much more profound than just the physical, if you will, menopause, or even the menopause, but actually the menstrual cycles, you see? Those moments, those shifts in the body, in the chemistry of the body, and so on and so forth, that whole energetic process, at that moment, women are most vulnerable from a psychic, from a spiritual standpoint. Absolutely. It is, we're talking about predator spirits that roam the earth, which are highly materialized and materialistic, you see? And so, men don't go through this. It's women that go through this. Men don't have that vulnerable moment. Women do, and they do so every month, you see? And so, they're easy prey. for these predator type of spirits. Absolutely. And for those of you that have already heard the previous programs, I've already defined and established what kind of archetype and types of spirits we're talking about. Those aren't in heaven. Those aren't in hell. Those are right here on earth, roaming around, and seeking for vulnerabilities and ways to attach themselves. Like in our last program, where I dissected the whole process of how those women that so many women that it's such a sensitive topic that most women do not openly come out and discuss it with anybody because it's such a private and intimate and freaky thing to talk about. But yes, these types of spirits will attach themselves while you're sleeping, for example, and that's when the body and the psychic of the body is at right there. It's an open portal. And so you have these roamers that will come in and attach themselves at that moment and literally have sexual intercourse with the sleeping woman, mm-hmm. and they attach themselves, and the more they attach themselves, the more empowered spiritually, energetically speaking, the more and more empowered they're becoming, the more materialized they're becoming. And that becomes just simply chaotic in the woman's life. And women typically don't want to discuss something like that. For example, if they go and say something like this to a psychologist, they'll think that she's crazy,
Mm-hmm.
It's purely psychological, because they're not considering the spiritual reality of what we're talking about.
Well, it goes to show what you just said proves the point of, and it has nothing to do with sex and the human conceptualization that we've conceived it.
Mm-hmm.
It has to do with the vessel that we come here reincarnated
yep.
in. And, it goes to the adage of why women can't do certain ceremonies during their cycle, because you are literally, in this, when I hear people get upset about that, it takes me aback, because it makes me see that they don't really understand the metaphysics of their vessel and what it is. And until I understood it, I used to be that way as well, but it just confirms when the elders would say, you can't come to a misa, you can't do this or that, because your womb is literally wide open. And I don't know if I should say this on the air, but I'm going to give an example. We had a conversation about you being at a misa many, many, many eons ago, and someone sitting down in a mass with their cycle, and they were told not to, and an Egun actually came down and tried to, went into her crotch area and tried to pull things out, not just physically, but spiritually.
Yeah, I've seen that many times, actually.
So when you said that to me, that was quite profound, because, women, we need to be more understanding, going back to understanding not just the physicality, the physiology of this vessel, but the metaphysics and what these vessels represent, because
mm-hmm.
we are literally wide open. We are walking cosmic wombs. We are walking odus, as everyone else is, but it's on a different level with the woman, because we carry the odu within our body.
In fact, I've seen in rare cases, but I've also seen it live in front of me, not being told. I've been in these masses where some woman has gotten possessed by a female spirit, and I've seen the female spirit go straight towards a man and try to do the same.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. And at that moment, since we're in masses where people, well organized and the right types of mediums were there and so on and so forth, they basically allowed the entry of this phenomena. The phenomena went straight to this man's crotch, and then at that moment, it was fabulous, because that's where it got captured and eradicated. Mm-hmm.
Well, then that goes to confirm another thing. Men, and we've talked about this many times on off air.
But wait a minute. Let me give you the reason why that happened in two. I know of two cases where it was identical.
Mm-hmm.
These were in different moments and in different years where I saw this, but it was two instances, although rare but true, where the men had had sex with a woman 24 hours prior to walking into this Mass. That's very interesting.
Well, since you said that, you took me there because I was thinking it.
I took you there.
You took me there, Oba. So, from my perception and how I've understood it, you just confirmed something for me. Women, I just explained how women are opened up. Men are opened up through their testicles. In gestation, in the womb, we are all women, and when we incarnate into this physical reality, the male version of us, the womb comes outside of the body and it becomes the testicles, and it gets activated through sex. Right. And that's when Abiku and things can attach to men during that sexual cycle through a woman, and then a 24-hour or maybe 48-hour period after sex, because that sexual channel is still open. So you just confirmed, unbeknownst to a lot of people, men also have wombs, except it's outside of your body. It's activated in a different type of way, and it pulls in Abiku in a different type of form.
Yes, and also another reality there is that those men could have very easily had sex with a woman who has some attachment. Mm-hmm. Or, that's one possibility. The other possibility also is where the man himself may not know it and has an attachment.
Indeed.
And these things operate, like I've said in previous programs, they come in clans. They come in groups. It's not just one. So in this Mass, in these two specific instances that I'm recalling right now, sure, they allowed the primary Egun, right, the one in charge of the clan, if you will, to step forward and try to manifest itself and take over in a physical sense, only to be trapped and removed, right?
Right.
But why did it go to that person when there were many other men in these Masses? So it was not a random thing, you see?
Mm-hmm.
It went straight to this particular person, this particular man. So that is also a possibility, that the man could also have or be vulnerable at that moment to attachments of its own. So it attachment goes and tries to connect to something else, someone else that also has an attachment, because that's how they operate. They operate in clans.
So for men, do you think that the attachment per se is more? My grandmother used to have an old saying of generational curses, if you will.
Well, generational curses, we have many. We have Odus that teach us and explain to us when it becomes generational. Like in the case of that you cited about Bruce Lee and the Kennedys and so many other, those are generational. Absolutely. But that's a particular type, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Which those are, we call we identify them as a family curse, if you will, so that we don't call those forces and so on and so forth, which is identify them as there's a curse in the family, you see?
Mm-hmm.
There's a spiritual curse in the family. Yeah, well, that's what we're referring to. We're referring to that when the elders die, those attached souls remain in the family. They do not depart. They stay here, and they just keep passing. They pass themselves from one to the next, from one to the next. It's like a chain, and you're just adding chain links to the chain.
Because I knew a habitual cheater. And this individual did things that he didn't even know why he was cheating, if you will. It was a family curse, but also because of this curse of the family that was handed down to him, when this individual will go to masses, for some reason, certain things would, attach to him, or when he dealt with people, certain things, because he already had that attachment, that that familiar curse that was already on him, so they recognize, okay, he already has an attachment, he's going to be easy prey. So where there is one, the rest go right to it. They attach themselves to the attachment. As like I explained in the previous programs, how that works, right? Indeed.
The one spirit at the forefront is obligated, if you will, to help feed, if you will, right? To keep the others alive. So once one comes in the door, you know that there's others walking in through that same pathway, that same portal. And when it becomes generational, my goodness, these aren't just attachments. That's it. This is an ongoing process from one to the next. And they will, over each person's lifetime in that family, there's a very distinctive way of diagnosing how there's a group of things that are known to be consistent with how they manifest on the male's lifetime, and there's a host of other things that we know, which is when they attach themselves, we know that how they cause different and how they manifest differently among women in that cursed family line. But as we were saying, the worst end of the stick, it's always the women, because when we're dealing, for example, on a family curse, it's always about them burdening the female, because the female is that conduit. It is that female portal that opens up. It is that female that gets fertilized. It is that female that procreates. It is her body that bears children, not the men. Now, what happens if it's a family thing, or even in cases where it's not, but it's severe, you have such a materialized presence or takeover, if you will, of the human living person on the female, that female in her lifetime, she will, that Egun is out through her physical body, is drawing in, is being attracted, pulls in people that are suffering from the same. And that's what makes this program so relevant.
Wow.
It's a clan, so they seek each other out here, okay?
That is really deep, Oba. Oh, my gosh.
So here you are, you're a female, but you're afflicted by this phenomena. Well, guess what? That phenomena is going to block, disrupt, or cause separation and chaos in relationships as long as it's still seeking a male partner for this female that's also has these attachments or similar types of attachments, which makes them both now compatible. And so if we're talking about at the moment of lovemaking, you're actually having these two attached phenomena working through the male and female body, which are the ones that are humans, which are actually engaged in the physical contact, you see?
Wow.
Think about that.
Well, what you're saying, like I said, you always give me a confirmation, because not only are the two individuals making love, the things that are attached to them are also feeding energetically off of each other in order to thrive. That is really deep, because I have that's why I call these things predator Eguns. Yes, because
they are predators. I mean,
they are, and you can see them. I don't want to scare anybody, but we're keeping it real here, and this is a mature audience and show. I've actually seen the attachments on other individuals because I have sight. And, when you're making love to them and you look at them and their face is not there, it's somebody else's face, that's really wild, but it's true.
Yeah, that's quite often, as a matter of fact. And what happens with that stuff, usually, is that, here's where the woman gets pregnant, and once that child is already forming and moving along, then all of a sudden, or even, you'll see that something takes place where that relationship breaks down, right? Separation takes place.
Mm-hmm.
And the woman is left with a newborn child and having to raise this newborn child. Well, guess what?
You are now off the host queue.
What reincarnated in this child? An attachment.
Oh. I'm speechless. That's just really profound.
Yeah. So this happens quite often. Quite often. It's incredible. Now, this is why one of the things that we have in our religious system is that we know how to diagnose this stuff, and, if you will, rid people from being affected or afflicted in this and other more profound ways. The main thing is, how do we go about it? How do we do this? Well, folks, where's your scorecard? Take it out, look at your lives, and look at, is there this pattern, right? And this pattern, not just with yourselves as you're listening to this program, but start thinking about those before you in the family. Look back to mom. Look back to your grandmas. You see? And there's where that whole generational chain begins to develop.
Indeed.
And so if your scorecard is scoring high on what we're saying, then you really need to go and get some help. Go to someone that you trust, first and foremost, and someone that you're aware, that you know, that you qualify, that the person knows how to handle these rare, specialized phenomena that the people need to have experience on handling this stuff, so they can be strategized and approached in a safe way, you see? And removed in a safe manner. If it's a mom and the mom has experienced this stuff and the mom now has children, then the mom needs to come in. But the children also need to have readings to see what's on them, so that whatever is done to mom is done to the children to liberate the mom and children from this curse. If not, you may remove the attachments of mom. But the children have their own attachments at this point that are growing with the children, and eventually, as they get older and puberty, et cetera, you have a continuity going on here because somebody missed the point that the children are also a product of this kind of stuff. So whatever religiously is done to mom needs to be done to the children as well, to free the family from the continuity of these attachments. That's very important.
Indeed, and it goes back to the last show that we were talking about, and we sort of kind of delved into this topic, but we waited until this show when we discussed about the whole nightlife, meaning going out and partying and people having one-night stands. Right. Well, family, what I'm about to say, some people are not going to like, but this is very true. The whole partying scene, if you will, the environment replicates the sacredness of indigenous things that we do at a tambor to bring spirit down here on earth. So, in other words, there's a reason why back in the day they used to call alcohol spirits, and it's because it opens up your vessel. You go to these clubs, you drink alcohol, your vessel is completely, you have no inhibitions, your vessel's completely open, and you're going into this dark space. And we all know that the light, the essence of light and the essence of dark carry different Eguns with them. You're going into this dark space with this tribal music. You're dancing and bringing up the energy from the earth, and your vessel is completely open, and all you have are not people dancing. You have all of these abikus and all these people with their attachments, and they recognize each other, and you get with someone, and you have a one-night stand, and lo and behold, you sleep with this person, you're having an enjoyable time, and then you wake up, and then you have all of this osobo that's percolating, and then all of these things may happen in your life, and you don't know why.
Yeah, absolutely. There is so much evidence of that, and not just, not theoretical, but living experience. How many times more times, if you will, how many more times do we have to witness Eguns possessing the human person? And the first thing they do is start drinking rum. And they'll drink a whole bottle in a heartbeat. So if they do that when they come down, why would you think that they're not hanging around in the mundane nightlife circles, if you will? Where it's not just only booze, but drugs and everything else. The higher you get, the more open and less control you have of your portal. You're becoming more and more wider open for free for all. It becomes a free for all, and yeah, one of the things that we do religiously, is that when women begin to they start dating someone, and they're already thinking of just going beyond an innocent date, if you will. This may sound like rather weird, but most women are, at least this is what we teach, and that is, if you're gonna go beyond having coffee here, or dinner, you need to come in and get a reading, because you need to know who you're moving towards here, or being drawn to, because the person may be a wonderful human being. The person may also be a very healthy individual, but that does not mean that they're not carriers of this toxic waste. Okay? Spiritually speaking, there's nothing there that you can detect or know, and you don't know if, at what moment is that attachment going to appear and begin to take over and begin to affect you. And so, it's been quite customary for us to do those kinds of consultations, where we come in, we read the person, and then we do a separate reading to read the person that they have a particular interest with, to make sure that they're engaging in something, out of love or just whatever the motivation may be, that they're entering in a safe zone, in a safe relationship with this individual. We do that quite often. So, some women may say, oh, wow, that's rather controlling, and it takes away my free will. And actually, it doesn't. It's providing information. Free will is still there. You decide what you want to do with it, If you want to engage and risk attachments, well, fine. If you don't want to risk attachments and play it safe, then use the information that's being provided through the readings, is it? So it's not just a matter of human compatibility. We're concerned here is this spiritual compatibility, that it's loving, that it's true, that it's honest, that it's genuine, and it's free from attachments that could become extraordinarily chaotic in the person's life. We're looking for the osobos here, not the,
No, indeed. I think that the reason why people may feel that way or get like spooked or things of this nature because...
Well, are they going to, that's like saying, this is too freaky, too spooky, and you know what, I don't even want to know that it's real. Well, here's what you do. When you take that position, we say, okay, enter at your own risk.
Indeed.
Why would you not want to know? Because, your life and your safety is at stake here. Why would you not know? What about if the guy that you're dating or starting to date because you don't want to know, right? You want to keep it at just at this human level. For all you know, that guy has got an attachment, and the attachment is about to take that guy's life. How about if that Egun decides the opportunity arises to take that guy's life in a car accident or something like that, the right moment arises where that Egun is present or causes it to take place, and guess what? Who's in the car? You are. And you either get maimed for life, or you get or you die with them. And as soon as your soul separates from the physical body, those Eguns, those predators, are sitting there ready to welcome you to their clan. These things are real.
Woo, that's deep, Oba. That is very deep and profound. And like,
what would you not want to know?
Well, I completely agree with you. And as I've always said, and KDCL Media has said, we as practitioners, just being indigenous people, whether you're Lukumi or American Indian or whatever, it doesn't matter. We have to stop thinking in a Christian Judeo type of way, meaning compartmentalizing, going to church on Sunday and living your life. There's a whole reality, if you will. That
those religious activities don't remove these predators.
Indeed, just like going to a misa. We go to the misa, we do ceremony, and then we just live our life any old way, and we're collecting all of these, collecting dust.
Going to a misa, and the people in the misa did not open correctly. Actually, if the misa was not prepared correctly, it was not then officiated correctly, or if the misa at the end was inefficient in cleanup, in spiritual cleanup, you could have one of these predators standing outside the door of the building, waiting for people to come out and attach themselves right there. Because why? Because they thought that the misa cleaned out the atmosphere, and it didn't.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Or they're too busy with their cell phones or whatever,
Indeed.
They're distracted.
And also when you talk about the death part of an abiku taking a partner out or things of this nature, it's the same instance. What if you don't read someone, the partner that you want to get involved with, and there's an abiku that is attached to his clan that wants to incarnate a child into this world?
You become the vehicle right there.
Exactly, who is literally not meant to be here, meaning that it's a case where you had license, if you will, to abort the fetus, so this abiku does not incarnate into this world reality, and then you don't do your reading, and this child incarnates. Abiku is here, and when they shouldn't have been here, and then their child's life ends up getting taken at an early age. And these are very rare cases, but they do happen.
Well, they do. They do attach themselves to newborns, and we talked about that in the previous programs. Of course they do.
Absolutely, and the child comes in with all of these disabilities, no quality of life. And when I say disabilities, family, I'm not talking about like diabetes or whatever. I'm talking about paraplegic, tubes coming out of the mouth,
physical deformities.
That is abiku attached to a child who actually shouldn't have incarnated into the flesh. Now, what I'm saying is a very ethical and moral struggle for some people. But when you start getting down to the metaphysics of this, it starts to get really deep. So through reading, family, you can actually see the road before you even take the road, so you don't incarnate some Egun who is not even supposed to be here.
That's right. That's right. So we got a little over a minute left, Dia.
Yes, we do.
You know, all I want to say in closing today, we've certainly just scratched the surface and give people some insight into how it works in relationships. You know, there's help out there, and there's different traditions that can diagnose and have remedies and approaches to detect these things and remove these things. There's help out there. Go get it. You don't need to live this way. That's the message. Go get it.
Indeed, family, and we're about to close. These are short little sections, if you will, little teasers. We will be back to have another installment of Egun, if you will. And I'm going to add just a little more time so I don't get cut off. Hopefully I can beat the clock, if you will. Yeah, we're going to have another installment, if you will, and the next installment is going to be Abiku in Children, which is going to get very, very deep, family, because there are a lot of things when it comes to our newborn children, our babies, before they even incarnate into that is very much profound, that a lot of people do not think about it. And I'm going to be producing a postcard for this next show that is very, very telling. So when I put the postcard up for the next show and we talk about children and giving birth and things of this nature, I want you guys to really look and examine the picture, because the picture for this next show really tells it all. And family, make sure that you go to the H2O Network website and KDCL Media's website at the HONetwork.weebly.com and also kdclmedia.weebly.com, and you'll be able to catch information there. Also, family, on Facebook, I'm going to the Center for Community Knowledge, and I'm going to put the link in the chat room. This is where we're going to have all of the information for the shows, if you will. So make sure you keep your eyeballs on the burner as far as that is concerned. And this is one installment out of many, so make sure you keep your ear to the ground. I know this was fast, but this was a teaser, if you will, because there's so many sectors to talk about. And eventually, Oba will be having some real in-depth classes about Egun at some point in time, and these are teasers for some of these classes, because literally we could spend the next 20 years, maybe even more than that, talking about the different sectors of Abiku, of Egun, and where this goes, how they attach, where they come from, and all of these things. So I hope that all of you all enjoyed this evening's program. And Oba, before we go, we do have a caller on the line, and I do want to take this caller. Caller from 857-334, you're live on the air. Hello, caller from 857. Hello, don't get shy. Your hand was raised. They just dropped. Sorry.
Okay.
they got a little scared there. Miss Paula, do you have any announcements or anything that you'd like to say before we close?
No, we're have our regular schedule. We're back on schedule, and we'll be back on air at 8 p.m. tomorrow evening with our usual installment of Over the Road.
You got any questions over there, Paula?
No, we've Lacey and I have had a really good chat about what you've been talking about, and but no questions. You've been very clear and succinct.
Okay, great. Fabuloso.
Fabuloso. Hold on one second. We have a lot of people in the chat room on the HO Network side. Family, are there any questions that you have before we get off the air? To speak now for forever hold your peace. They're like crickets. Everyone's thinking about what you said. Well, go back into the archives, family. Listen to the show. Email us if you have any questions. Remember, you can find the three of us on Facebook. And we will see you soon, family. We send you lots of love. Make sure you check out the website. Have a good evening, everybody. Good night. attachments. Well, there is an excellent example in Celebrityville, if you will, that deals with Abiku. And if you haven't read the book, Enter the Dragon, about Bruce Lee's life, he had an Abiku attached to him, and that's why he lost his life. That's why Brandon lost his life, and eventually his father passed on basically his Egun baggage to Bruce Lee and Bruce Lee's son. And the story goes, and this is a true story, family. I dated a Chinese guy for 5 years, and it's very well known, percolating in Asian community, that basically the father of Bruce Lee didn't really pay his debt, if you will, in a certain type of spiritual way. And because he chose to ignore this Abiku, he passed this Abiku down to Bruce Lee. And when you read the book, Enter the Dragon, his wife actually talks about the dreams when Iku would come to Bruce Lee and, terrorize him. And he had these visions his whole entire life. And if you watch the movie Enter the Dragon, the year before Bruce Lee died, he had another vision with Iku, and then he saw Iku being transferred over to his son Brandon. That's deep, y'all. So when I saw this, I completely forgot about Bruce Lee. You know what I'm saying? There's so many examples, as Oba teaches, Egun, relationships and marriage, and probably a few other things. But before we bring Oba and KDCL Media on the line, let me get, announcements out of the way, family. Make sure that you go to the KDCL Media and the H2O Network profile page. You can download the H2O Network via iTunes or individual shows. The links that are on my Facebook page, Miss Paula or Oba, you click on that link and the player pops up. You have 3 choices under the player, and one of them is to download this specific or any other specific show. You can click on that link and download it. Also via iTunes, you can download all of our shows, so make sure you go to KDCL Media and the H2O Network profile page. Also, family, you know that we're percolating on Facebook. Type into your search engine DIANUNEZ. That is me. I have 2 profiles. Friend them both. And also KDCL Media. And also Oba is on Facebook percolating. We are also on Twitter, family. Type into your search engine the H2O Network and KDCL Media, and you'll be able to find us there. We're also on Google+. And we are also on YouTube. And family, I'm really working hard to cut and paste, if you will.
KDCL Media, the pride of Internet radio for Deep Creek Lake, Garrett County, Maryland, and the world.
Consciousness. It's like the ocean. The H2O Network, purveyors of passion, seeking to expand human consciousness from the deep depths of the universe of your soul.
Greetings, family, and welcome to the H2O Network, and welcome to KDCL Media, the pride of Internet radio. We are here for our Egun series, CCK, Center for Community Knowledge, with our elder, Oba Ernesto Pichardo, who is an elder of the Lukumi tradition, over 40 years of Ocha. And tonight we are going to discuss some of our shows that we started with CCK, Center for Community Knowledge. I will be downloading every single show with Oba on YouTube. It's just going to take time, family, because I have to edit it and cut it and so on and so forth. That is coming. Also, the reading of the year in Espanol, and also the English version I will be doing the same thing with. And just a reminder, family, this coming up Sunday, we will continue our Espanol show with the Odu of the year with Oba Carlos to further talk about the letters that fell in Miami, because there were so many things that were said. And if y'all missed it, my Espanol family, y'all need to catch up because y'all missed some real juicy tidbits for real, for real. So we had to split that in two. Also, family, make sure that if you are registering for the intro to religious counseling with Baba Mandisere out of New York City, who has just joined the family of CCK Center for Community Knowledge, make sure that you either email Oba or me. I would prefer that you email me because I'll be handling all of the things that need to go down for your information, and that's rg345@nyu.edu. That's rg345@nyu.edu. And make sure that in the subject letter you tell me which classes that you are taking and so on and so forth. So it makes it easier on me. We get hundreds of emails a day, family, and I'm monitoring all these things. So to make it easier for me, put that in the subject line and things of this nature, and we will collaborate. Now, the last show that we had, we talked about the sexual predator of Egun. I have to say, as priests, as aleos, or indigenous people of the planet, to talk about spirit or to be in masses in one thing, but to actually break down in these different compartments of what this really means can be a little scary. I got a lot of emails, thank you, much love, from individuals. And the feedback, family, remember, is love. So that was a phenomenal show. There are a lot of people who were percolating and talking about that show. So after this one, if you have not listened to that, you need to go back into the archives. And also I want to share something with you guys. Me and Oba, talk very often off air, and we had this conversation about the show that we had previously, sexual predatorship with Abiku and Egun and all of these attacks.